The Tanchjim for you. Let's talk about it. Now, this is a sample sent out to me by Hifigo. It is a single dynamic driver that costs about $70. Now, this packaging is interesting. I was expecting a ton of waifus or some kind of cartoon children, but they weren't here. It does have a graph on the back, which is always fun for me, but nothing too special about this packaging. So let's go ahead and talk about the shells. The shell is very tiny. I was kind of worried about it when I first looked at it. When I put it in ear, it feels small but snug. Like, I don't have any problems with it. Like, I've dealt with small shells before, but this one seems to fit and work. Like, the little circular area kind of around the nozzle just kind of sits near my eardrum well, and I feel like it gives me good fit security, and I don't have any problems with it. But you can see, just comparing it to the Awful Magic 1, it is way smaller. Its nozzle's a little bit bigger, but overall it's a nice shell. It comes included with 2 sets of ear tips. I find them to be nice, nothing too special. A nice little pouch, which is kind of disappointing at this price range, but not bad. The cable itself is very nice. It shimmers, it looks good, it feels good in hand. It doesn't really tangle. It's just kind of a pretty 2-wire, but it's not a bad cable, and I find it to be a fine value at this price. Now, Tanchjim's last release, the Tanchjim Origin, came into some criticism, and it was kind of one of those sets that was really hyped by some and kind of thrown under the bus by some. It was a little bit of a controversial set, people saying that it wasn't nearly as good as even the SimGots. I never got to hear that, so I wasn't really involved in that. So this review is mainly just focused on this particular IEM and what it's about. But it is interesting to note what the company has been doing as of late. Ah, yes, the cartoon children. This is looked at from their site, and you can tell here that there are multiple different tunings. There is the atmosphere, pop, natural, and monitoring. These words mean nothing to me. I just think about bass and numbers. That's just kind of the way my brain operates. I just kind of, graphed them and tried a few of them. And I like the atmosphere, and let's go ahead and talk about the graphs here in a moment. But I wanted to show this to you because this is a nice little feature. It comes with this nice little screwdriver where you can change the face plates of these, and it's really a nice little feature. I think this feature of a screwdriver is a nice little thing. You can also have a feature like this on the Elysian Diva. This is the Diva right here. I think the fact that it has 3 different tuning switches on the Diva and 4 on the Tanchjim Origin shows kind of an increased value for those that want this out of an IEM. I think it is a really nice feature, and it's a cute little screwdriver to boot. Tanchjim for you graphs. They are 4 different settings: atmosphere, pop, natural, and monitoring. For me, in my taste, I found pretty much all of them a little bit too neutral. I did think the atmosphere was the best, so that's going to be the one that we are going to focus on and talk about. If you look at other products they have, like even the Tanchjim Kara, which is a lot more expensive, I thought the Kara was just kind of fine. It didn't really have anything that was super exciting. It didn't really feel fun to me, and it didn't really get me excited about listening to music for an IEM at this price point. I think the Kara, it just was really overpriced. And it was interesting because I heard a big reviewer talking about, the Tanchjim Kara, saying that, Tanchjim's next project should be a cheaper IEM. And this IEM, I think, is kind of like that idea. They're trying to do a cheaper IEM to gain more market relevance. And I think the 4U achieves that. I think the 4U is a better IEM than the Kara. I really like my Kara, but I think the Tanchjim 4U is by far a better set. It has a lot of options. It's fun, and there's a lot of good things going on for it, the price being one of them. The one I wanted to compare this to was the Hexa. I think the Hexa and the Tanchjim for You, their bass level's about the same. The upper mids are maybe slightly better on the Hexa. I think the air and detail and overall technicalities, I think, are slightly better on the Tanchjim for You. I really think it's an enjoyable set. I really find it resolute and fun and fully enjoyable. All right, let's look at this versus the HBB 1V. Now, I like the sub bass of the 1V, and I really enjoyed its upper mids, and I thought it was a smooth tune, but it was fully dead inside. It lacked that sparkle and air. You may want to call it technicalities. You may want to call it the upper air and treble region. I mean, the 1NV graphs extremely well, but it has this ability where it just doesn't sound that great. I think the Tanchjim for You does sound pretty good. I think, you know, I gave it a little bit of a bass shelf, and to me, it just sounded amazing with just a tiny bit of one filter EQ. The next one I want to show you is a Singolo. Singolo has better bass, better upper mids, but again, I think that the Tanchjim for You has that driver. It has that ability to sound good. And that's, you know, I think that's the big thing that it has. Like, it doesn't have that tuning. Like, you know, if you want to look at graphs and say, wow, you know, the Tanchjim for You doesn't have very good tuning, I would have to agree with you based on my preferences looking at this. But graphs really only tell you up to about 5 to 10K. After a point, you kind of have to rely on your own ears a little bit, and sometimes certain tunes will work and won't. For the Tanchjim for You, it sounds a lot better than his graph might indicate, and I think it's an enjoyable set despite its slight problems. The last one I wanted to show you was the Delici. Now, the Delici does have better bass. I did feel like the Delici was a little bit more U-y in the upper air. Like, it just felt like it had a little bit too much air for me, but it has a great natural overall sound. Like, if you have the Keyfine Delici, I think technicality-wise, the Delici and the Tanchjim for You are about on the same, but there were some things about the Delici that I didn't really like. It did feel extra fatiguing. I don't really get that feeling with the Tanchjim for You, despite it graph making me think it would be fatiguing. It just kind of comes across mellow, chill, nice, and pleasant. It has really nice resolution and technicalities. Like, it just feels like the music is, like the driver is doing a really good job, despite what it has and what it says. I also wanted to show you guys the Diva and its tuning nozzles and switches. It's interesting to me that, like, you know, the Tanchjim for You has 4 different bass switches, and this is kind of the one that's the closest to my target, like the green one, the one that I found to be the best. But if you look at like the Diva also has its fault where it has like this really low bass shelf, which some people actually like, but it also has a lot of other bass shelves that are really low. And I almost wonder if maybe my graph is a little bit off or wrong, but like, it just kind of feels that way to me in ear, that like the bass isn't quite right of where I'm used to it and where I enjoy. But I mean, you know, it's interesting, like with the Diva, I wish that it had this kind of middle ground, like right in between the yellow and blue line. And then with the Atmosphere, I would still wish it had a little bit more sub bass through here, although the mid bass is just about right. These have good bass shelves. I feel like this tuning, this whatever tuning I find myself to enjoy, there's a lot of IEMs that I've experienced that have that exact tuning. I really like it. Like enough sub bass, a little bit more mid bass, kind of a thing, and I think that would really help this sound well. And again, having multiple tuning switches, I feel it wouldn't be that hard to implement, or at least it's something that you might be able to do in the next design. Now, while I don't rank this IEM super highly, I did find when I EQ'd it, it helped out a lot. I feel like there's a really nice musicality to this, and I find it's really competitive with some of the other sets that are out there, like the 1NV, the Delici, the Singolo, the Tanchjim 4U. They're all right around that like 7.7, and you can kind of look here and see where those lines lie. To me, it gives you an idea of where I feel these IEMs are at. It's a really nice sounding IEM, and I think it could work for some people, although personally I don't rate it, but there's aspects of it, like the resolution, the imaging, like how it just feels like the music is around my head is really nice for an IEM of this price. And I feel like it just needs that little bit more note weight, a little bit more bass to really be an impactful IEM that I would love. As far as music goes, music does really well in it. Like it hits a lot of songs really good. Like Hotel California has this really nice space, air, and just kind of musicality to it. Killjoy really hits its first little pop, the little, I don't know, the little singing part, the electronic voice part. It's really nice. But when you hit something like King Kong, where you really are requiring something to be a little bit hefty, it just feels light. It feels airy, and it feels delicate to me on a lot of tracks. But as far as overall music approach, really nice, really lovely, but just not what I exactly would want in music. So the Tanchjim 4U isn't really for me. I feel like it has a lot of great things going on. It does have a nice musicality. It does have a nice fit, cable and packaging. And it's just not a bad IEM, but it's not necessarily what I personally would look for. And I do find myself enjoying it, but feeling like it lacks a little bit of tonality sometimes. And that's kind of my problem with it. But overall, I think it's a really fun toy because it gives you that opportunity of an IEM like the Diva, where you can easily switch the bass and kind of get a good feel and flow of whether this IEM is going to be a good IEM for you or for not. And for $70, I think that's a pretty fair price for a lot of us. And I think that becomes in that category of where like it might be something that you might want to play with to get a better idea of which one of these bass shelves are really for you. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Go watch another IEM video. It's done. That's the entire video. What more do you want?